One of the most successful videos on this channel was the video on NotCoin, the leading meme coin on the Ton blockchain. And the reason for that success is because the price has doubled just within 4 days. Now in this video, I want to talk about how to spot winners like this early. I also want to talk about what to do now with NotCoin, given that it's risen that much. Should we buy still or should we take some profit? Now here's the performance of that video. In gray is a typical video on this channel. In blue is the performance of the NotCoin video. There's still quite a bit of traffic indicating there is a lot of interest. Interest tends to translate into purchases, and those purchases, those buy orders, they of course push up the price. The price tends to rise just until the long-term holders that bought low tend to sell. And so when this chart here doesn't rise that much anymore, we might have a problem with NotCoin. So far, there's still a lot of interest. So the prior video was published at 1.2 cents 4 days ago. Now we are at 2.3 cents. So if this is your first time to hear about NotCoin, then feel free to follow channels like this. I try to be early and I publish videos regularly. Right now, NotCoin is at a $2.5 billion market cap. Now, how can a market cap like this be achieved in such a short period of time? Is there really $1.2 billion flowing into NotCoin within just a few days? The TLDR is of course no. NotCoin does get a lot of manipulation by the centralized exchanges. There are very few transactions on chain on the Ton blockchain. So we've already talked about this in the prior video. When we look at the Ton Chain Explorer, so that's tonscan.org, we barely see any transactions here. Maybe 1 or 2 transactions every hour. And so why is then the price exploding that much? I believe, again, it's a lot of manipulation. And what the centralized exchanges are doing is they push up the price of a specific coin that doesn't have too much market cap at the time, generating a lot of attention, as we have seen just in the YouTube Studio backend, right? There's a lot of views on this coin because the price went up. People want to know why the price went up. And as there is more attention, people buy in, and then the centralized exchanges can gradually sell. Either gradually, or they can also just directly crash the price in case there's too many people that get on this with levered trading, like with derivatives. For example, with perpetual futures contracts. Have a look. There is hundreds of millions of open interest on NotCoin on various centralized exchanges. And that open interest might be balanced. That's then when the funding rate is at 0. And when we look at Binance and OKX, which had the most trading volume in the last 24 hours, we can see again the funding rate is relatively balanced, relatively close to 0, which would indicate that the market makers so far do not have interest in crashing the price. Thus, what I believe makes most sense here is to use a trailing stop loss, as already said in the prior video. So it does make sense to ride this wave, but at some point when people use too much leverage and the funding rates get too much out of whack and the price shoots up, you want to adjust your stop loss very, very closely, because then at some point the price might again collapse. We've seen this several times, for example, with Yearn Finance or with YGG or various other coins. When there are perpetual futures that are heavily trading and when there is a massive rally and when the funding rates get out of whack, then the real manipulation happens. And so today, NotCoin is by far outperforming everything else. The same can be said for this week, but the same cannot be said for the overall altcoin market. What we've got over here is the altcoin market as a share of all of crypto. It's currently at 27%. And it's actually not going up that much. We actually overall in the altcoin market had a pretty poor performance in the last weeks. There are several reasons for that poor performance. I don't want to talk about this now again on this video, but what's very important to notice here is that performance is very much concentrated in just a few assets. Some altcoins outperform sometimes, or let's rather say a few altcoins outperform very rarely. Most of the time, Bitcoin is outperforming all the rest. So it does make sense to trade altcoins actively. You don't just want to buy and hold, especially risky manipulated meme coins. Now let's talk about how to find the next pumping coin. And I want to share how I personally bought into an ND derivative. So that's also a meme coin. It's on Ethereum. It's not the ND on Base, but on Ethereum, it's a different token. But with that ND token, we've also doubled our money in a very short period of time. This is where I bought here. So here's what we are doing. We track various influencers and we figured out that James Wynn, he bought into the ND token, not on Base, but on Ethereum. So look at the price. It's very different to the Base token. Influencer James Wynn bought in for roughly 150K over the span of 3 days. So what we're doing here in Premium, right, the link is down below, thebitcoinstrategy.com. What we're doing is we try to find different influencers' wallets with all kinds of on-chain analytics. We've even got a chat where we try to discover different wallets. We've got some of James Wynn. And so we follow the influencers, we see what they are buying, and then afterwards, after they have bought, they very often make a video about the token. Once they make that video, right, once they publish the video on YouTube, then the price shoots up because, again, a lot of attention is on the token. So what we want to do is we want to front run the general audience. We want to almost get insider information. It's technically not insider information because the blockchain is a public ledger. But still, we try to be earlier than the masses. We find out that an influencer buys in heavily. Then I shared that I bought this as well. So again, this was on Monday, on the 27th. And then you're waiting a few hours, maybe a few days. We get our promotion, the price pumps, and we make the profit. It of course doesn't always work like this, right? Sometimes influencers buy something without promoting it, or sometimes an influencer might buy something and even though they might promote it, it might not really shoot up. So it's of course not a strategy that always works, but it's definitely better than just drawing random lines on charts and trying to predict where the price goes. It's much better to do what the smart money is doing, to do what the people that tend to make profit in crypto, to emulate those kinds of people. And so besides James Wynn buying, we also analyzed the number of holders over time. We saw that retail bought in quite a lot. We also saw that James Wynn tended to buy low and sell high, and he started buying again. That's also great. We also saw that from his 2 million portfolio, he's got 400,000, so 20% in the ND token. And of course, we also checked the security of the token, as in, is there a honeypot potential? What's the current market cap / liquidity pool? So again, if you want to step up your crypto game, maybe it makes sense to follow influencer wallets, right? Try to find influencer wallets, try to track them with all kinds of bots. There are tutorials again in Premium about this. If you are looking very deeply though, on YouTube, you might also find tutorials that are free over here. So you don't have to necessarily sign up for Premium, especially if your crypto portfolio isn't yet large enough. The main message here is, don't just try to buy what currently pumped up, or don't just buy what everybody is talking about. Try to be early. Try to find information sources most people don't have. Follow Twitter accounts that call certain cryptocurrencies early. Follow YouTube accounts that talk about a cryptocurrency before it doubles. Curate your information sources because then you can get alpha, right? Only the minority of people wins. And so you want to get your information from the minority, from the winners. You don't just want to generally follow any kind of influencer because again, most influencers pump and dump on you. Again, if it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. If you don't yet want to join Premium, there's also a free Telegram. Feel free to check that out. Link is as well down below. See you over there.